Are you trying to decide between Long Island and New Jersey for your family? Well, you're not alone. I hear this comparison all the time, and honestly, these two areas have a lot in common. Both are major suburban alternatives to the Big Apple. Both have strong housing demand. Both have commuters, families, and people looking for space outside of the city. But even though they seem similar on paper, the lifestyle feels very different. Okay, so today I want to break down some of those differences between Long Island and New Jersey for some of those families, the pros, the cons, and what type of person usually ends up happier in each one. And honestly, I think this comes down to lifestyle. And let's start with probably the biggest factor for most families, which is going to be space and housing. Now, generally speaking, New Jersey tends to offer a little bit more space for the money in many areas compared to Long Island. Now, obviously, this is going to depend heavily on the town because both markets, they can vary a lot, but in general, Long Island prices can feel very aggressive, okay, for the amount of house you're getting, especially in Nassau County. I think that surprises a lot of buyers coming from the outside areas. Now Long Island still actually, absolutely has larger homes and properties, especially further east in Suffolk County. But if maximizing house size is your number one priority, New Jersey honestly gives buyers a little more flexibility and more price ranges. Now, with that said, Long Island has something that New Jersey doesn't really replicate the same way, and that's the coastal lifestyle. And this is honestly one of the biggest reasons why people choose Long Island. It's a big reason why I love it. You've got beaches everywhere, and I'm a big beach person. South Shore beach towns, North Shore, waterfront areas, the boating and the ocean access, right? The ocean, all of that stuff is a big part of the Long Island culture. And for a lot of families, that lifestyle matters a lot more than what they originally expected. So now let's talk about the commute. This is a big difference between the two. Long Island commuting, you're going to be taking the Long Island Railroad. New Jersey, you're going to be taking the New Jersey Transit. You're going to be taking the PATH trains. You're going to be driving, and you're going to be taking the ferries. And the commute quality, is different, right? Depending on the location. But here's something that I see a lot. Long Island tends to work especially well for the families who are tied to Queens and Brooklyn and the eastern side of Manhattan, while Jersey appeals to more people working on the west side of Manhattan or parts of Jersey City, and Hoboken. So geography, it matters a lot. Another huge difference is going to be lifestyle, right? Long Island feels it's a beachier town. New Jersey can vary a lot more depending on where you are. Some areas feel a little bit more urban. Others can feel almost rural. Otherwise, Long Island's going to feel more consistently suburban overall. And honestly, people who are usually drawn to one vibe more naturally than the other. Another thing families compare constantly is going to be transportation and walkability. Long Island is very car dependent. You're driving for most things. I mean, Jersey varies more depending on the town. Some areas are highly walkable and transit oriented. Others are extremely suburban. This is something that buyers really underestimate all the time because your day-to-day routine is something that matters a lot, right? It's something that you do every single day. So now let's talk about taxes for a second because both Long Island and New Jersey are known for this conversation. Neither one is cheap. Both areas have very high price taxes, property taxes, depending on the town. And I think this is one of the biggest shocks for buyers who are relocating from lower cost states. People look at home prices, but then the taxes completely change the monthly payment. Now, one thing Long Island does tend to have is stronger long-term emotional attachment for people already connected to New York, especially for people who grew up in Queens or in Brooklyn. Long Island often feels familiar culturally. And honestly, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why many NYC families tend to choose it over New Jersey. It kind of feels like an extension of what they already know, right? So with all that said, here's where I think the decision really comes down to. Long Island is usually a better fit for families who want to be closer to the beach. They want that type of lifestyle. They want to be strongly connected to the New York City type of lifestyle. You know, they want the beach and water access and boats and all that good stuff. You know, and New Jersey can make more sense for buyers who prioritize maximizing house size, potentially shorter, you know, west side commutes, or slightly more flexibility depending on budget, location. You know, but there's no universal better. This is completely personality. It's lifestyle driven. And I think, you know, a big mistake that you can make is focusing too much on things that just don't matter, right? Focus on what you want your life to feel like day to day, because that's what's going to determine whether or not you're happy. So, you know, Long Island and New Jersey, they're both incredible places. I go to Jersey all the time. I love it. It's a beautiful place. A lot of friends that live out there. You know, the key is just understanding which is kind of going to float your boat more, right? So if you are, you know, trying to make that decision, whether you want to go to Long Island or Jersey, or you're thinking about making the move to Long Island, feel more than free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you out. All my information is down below. My phone number, text me, call me, email me, and I'll set you up with a free consultation and get on your way. Thanks for watching the video, and I hope you have a fantastic day.